tell us about solitary confinement.
This solitary confinement where I was for the most part like being in your basement with no windows, 2 doors, a solid steel door, and a set of bars. You're locked in a room smaller than your bathroom, twin-size bed, a toilet and a sink, and that's it. And a little light. And you just sit there for a determined amount of time. Mine was 2.5 years. And you just sit in darkness. And you're by yourself with your own thoughts and your own fears every day.
What do you think it was about that solitude and being alone with your own thoughts, if anything, that triggered that voice that said, I got to do something different?
Well, there's 15 cells on a range. So there's cell 1 to 15, and I'm in cell 14. And literally, we come down, and this is the most violent, the leaders, the gang bosses, they're all down here. That's who we are. And so I come in, it's like all the brand name guys, the big names that you know of, you heard of. And the guys been down there before me. I just got here today, and I'm going to be here for 2.5 years, so I'm like the newest guy. Fast forward 6 months, the tough guy in cell 1 starts rubbing shit on himself and howling at the moon. Another 3 or 4 months, the guy next door to him starts like cutting himself. And another 3 or 4 months, the guy next to him hangs himself. And I'm like, these are solid people. These are like the toughest of the tough. And I'm watching like death creep towards me. And the only difference between me and them, and they were all tougher than me, was they had been down here for so long. And I said, wow, my turn's coming, because I'm watching like gladiators fall apart after so many months and years of being locked in a cell with like a fluorescent light and no sunlight, no nothing. So it was like I had to do something, or I would end up like the people I saw coming towards me.
How were you able to, because you didn't have to spend 2.5 years in solitary confinement, and you didn't have to stay for a whole sentence. How did you become eligible for?
Well, I did have to spend 2.5 years in solitary. Oh no, that wasn't optional. If I could have opted out, I'd opted out day 2. Like, hey, I thought about it, right? Put me back in general pop. No, I had an altercation where I had got into a gang situation and hurt some people, and they take me to the board and they said, hey, the next 2.5 years in prison, you're going to spend in this cell in the basement. And there was no opting out of that. But when I did have my epiphany, wanted to do more, I decided that I didn't want to become the king of nowhere. I didn't want to be this big gang lord that nobody cared about. Outside, it was all fake. So I created this big, fake, illusional person that I wanted to be. Now I'm down here with all the guys who were that before me, and I watched them go crazy. And I didn't want to be that. I didn't want to be crazy. I didn't want to be the king of nowhere. So I came up with a strategy and a plan to elevate myself, to go live my real dream, which I had to first ask, who am I and what do I want to be? So I went through that process of saying, well, what do I want to be? First was what I didn't want to be. Then I got to, well, what do I want to be? Then I looked in the mirror. I said, what's inside of me that's stopping this from happening? I'm black. I'm a criminal. I'm a gang leader. I'm in solitary confinement. I just added 10 years to my sentence. I don't read well. I come from a poor family, a dysfunctional background. I dropped out of high school. I made all the things, a list of all the things that were stopping me from my dream, which was to go to Harvard University. And my friends were the biggest obstacle, because they said, Dre, you can't go to Harvard. I said, why? They said, you're black. They said, you're a gang leader. You're in the hole for trying to kill 8 people, and you can't read. And they told me all the reasons I couldn't go. So I had to first get over my friends. Then I ran into my family, my mom and my dad, and they told me I couldn't go because my father's from the deep South, from another generation where black people couldn't have aspirations to go to Harvard and say it publicly. So he was scared that I was saying this out loud. So I had to get past my father's generational fear of saying something like this out loud. And it was just all these hurdles to get to square one. And I had to get past my friends, get past my family, and then holding on my real list, the things that I could control, because I can't control my friends and my family, but I can control if I get a GED. I can control if I go to anger management. I can control if I go to law library and teach myself the law, become a jailhouse lawyer. I can control if I stop hurting people and stop helping people. And for 8 years, I stayed on my plan. I overturned my case. I overturned my mindset. And I overturned my direction. And I got out of prison, and it took me 25 years, but I can sit here and tell you that I'm a Harvard fellow.